And I think I'm going to remember it when I become a grandmother because look, I'm a new author. I'm just starting out. And then after the session, they were just surrounding me with pieces of paper from their notebooks saying autograph. And I'm like, look, I'm not a celebrity. But they made me feel like a celebrity. And I was like signing and I was like really crying. It's because you struggle a lot to write, to get published and dream, right? And then you're still not there. But these children, they make you feel like you're a hero. And that really, I remember that moment for a very, very long time.
Everybody, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. It's the author podcast where we get to meet amazing authors from around the world. And today, it's a great example. I'm in Canada, and my guest is joining me from far, far from where I am, and I'm super excited to have her here. She has some great books. She's got some great stories. Fresh back from a book tour and a visit in India to talk about her books, and now she has time for us, and I'm so excited. Lalitha is here with us. Thank you so much for making time for us. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Living the Next Chapter.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm super excited to join your show.
Excellent. Very good. So I mentioned that you are far from where I am in Canada. Can you let everybody know where you are?
So I'm in Singapore, far, far, far away.
Yeah.
It's quite late here, but I'm super, super excited to talk about my books and share my journey and answer questions. Yeah, so really happy to be here.
Excellent. Thank you for staying up late to talk to us. It's early morning for me and late night for you, but thank you. I appreciate you making time for us.
No problem at all.
Excellent. So we have authors who listen to the show, and they come here for inspiration from somebody like you who has done something that they haven't done yet. They want to do what you've done. It's a dream to be a published author. They would love to go on a book tour and talk about their book. They would love to do all these things, but they're just starting and they're looking for inspiration. So if you could have kind of go back in your mind to when you first started, if an author came up to you and had some advice for you, what do you think would have been helpful to hear when you first started writing your books?
When I started off, so I'm an engineer, and then I had a career in finance. So I worked for like about 15 years in an FMCG giant as a finance manager, staring at numbers and spreadsheets. Not at all not someone you'd associate as a creative person because you can't get creative with numbers.
No.
So I used to love writing when I was a child. I used to love writing stories and participating in competitions. But as I grew older, somehow I never got the time. So while I was in corporate and I was getting very stressed out because I had a little daughter, I had timelines, I had a lot of work. So I wanted to de-stress, and a hobby that I picked up was blogging. Okay. And I started off by writing simple things, daily things that would happen, the conversations that my daughter would have with me, for example. I just write them and post them on social media. But it was a kind of response and the love that I got from my friends saying that, oh my God, we can relate to what you're writing, right? And that really kind of reassured me because I really didn't think anyone would want to read me, right? I was like always doubting myself, saying that, am I going to be good enough? Right? And here was a chance where I could connect. And it wasn't about the literary beauty or the style, because that comes with practice. It was just about something from my heart that I was just, sharing with my network. And that resonated. And they came back to me, like a mother came back to me saying, oh my God, I had this conversation with my daughter a few days ago. How do you know? Were you listening in? And that kind of universal connection, that really encouraged me. And then, how it is on social media, you get validation, you get excited, you put the second post, the third post. And it really helped me de-stress. And I'll be looking forward to writing about my experiences. And that's how my network kind of grew. And then before I knew it, I was like writing every single day, and I had a whole collection. I had like 200 pages worth of stuff. So my advice to any author who's starting out is that just take the plunge. It doesn't matter that your stuff is, maybe what you write may not be excellent, but you have to start because you can't really edit a blank page. You can edit what you've written. You can make it more beautiful. And it doesn't matter if, your skill levels aren't where you want them to be. It grows. Most importantly, are your readers able to connect with you? Are they able to feel that emotion? Are they able to take away something from what you're saying, right? And that's the most important thing. And do it because you love writing. Don't worry about what people will think. Do it because it makes you happy. It makes you feel less stressed out. just take the plunge because you're a creative person and you want to share that love of creation with everybody.
Okay. So, Lalita, would you say that for you as a writer, did you write
Yeah.
when you were inspired, or did you write on a regular basis and just stay in a creative space of just writing all the time? Or did you write whenever you felt like you wanted to write something?
Initially, I wrote because I was also, managing my work schedules.
Yeah.
I wrote whenever I got the time,
Okay.
right? Whenever I got the time, I'd be like, oh, sometimes I'd be just in the middle of something and I'd remember, oh, I could write about this. I'd just make a note about
Yeah.
it. And then when I get time, I would sit and write a blog or a post or even a story around it. Um, Again, there are people who have, like in my friend circle, there are people who have a fixed schedule and a fixed timetable. They get up every day and write between this time to that time. Right now, I'm at that space where I write when inspiration
Yeah.
strikes. Like when I see something, I'm like, oh my God, I could totally write a spin something around this. And then I write. And sometimes I make notes, and 3 days later, I don't even know what those notes mean anymore because they're like cryptic words. Like 2 days ago, there were three very unrelated words: pigeon, chocolate, and dress. And I still don't know what they mean, but it'll come to me sometime. And then I will write my story. So, yeah. So, those are the, how do I say, the perks of being a writer.
Right.
But initially, I used to write when I used to get the time because I was balancing my career and my house.
Yeah.
And this was just a hobby. Yeah. So my writing was only a hobby to de-stress until I was like, you know what, I really want to follow my passion. Until that point, I was just writing whenever time permitted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the one thing I hear from authors who come on the show, sometimes they feel pressure that they have to write every day. And they're a parent, they have a job, they have a lot of things going on, and they feel like if they don't keep up writing every day, that they fail. And then they give up because, well, I made a mistake. I didn't do it today because I was busy, so I'm not good at writing. So I just don't like the pressure, I think, for young authors to show up every day when you're just learning and sit and stare at a blank piece of paper and you have no idea, nothing's coming,
Yeah.
but you force
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
to be there. I don't know. For some people it might work, but some people it might not.
It wouldn't work for me.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like when my editor comes back with a third round of revision, that's when I get my best ideas for writing other stuff.
Oh,
Because I'm like anything but this, anything but this.
yeah.
Or I want to clean the house because I don't want to edit all over again. But
Right.
I get it.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that rather than giving up and wallowing, just go out for a walk, anything to clear your mind, just have a conversation with a friend. And that's where, I owe a lot to my writers network. If I'm stuck, I just call up a friend and we brainstorm, or we just exchange ideas, or we're just exchanging memes. I'm at this stage of my life with a lot of friends and a lot of memes, and we kind of laugh over them together, and that really makes you feel more energized. And you're like, okay, fine, I've taken a break. I'm going to come back, and maybe I can look at my draft with fresh eyes. And then I uncover new things that I missed the first time, because there are many typos that will stare at you in the face and you will just miss them.
Yeah.
And then maybe after a break, they will just pop out
Yeah.
and you're like, oh my God, how did I miss this?
Right.
So don't force yourself, because when you put pressure on yourself, you're probably not going to do so well. Do the stuff that you really, really love. Take breaks, take walks. Sometimes you may have an editing or a publishing deadline. You can't help it. But otherwise, don't force yourself. Write for the love of it. That's what I'd say.
Okay. That's good. I like it. And then when you do get into the practice of writing, and then you finally get to the part where you can actually publish a book, it opens doors for you now to go. And you just traveled recently. You've been spending time with children, talking about your books. Like, that's amazing. And all that's as a result of you actually writing the book and publishing the book. It opens all these brand new doors that would never open otherwise. Can you tell us a little bit about your recent trip that you just did to talk about your books? I think this is fascinating.
So, I have this new book. It's called Kanmani and Co. It's about a group of children in an Indian village and their adventures. And they don't have much access to technology or phones or the internet. And yet they come up with creative solutions to solve problems. So that was the whole idea behind the book, because I wanted to recreate the magic from my childhood, where I was not addicted to video games or mobile games. And I wanted to celebrate the outdoors and that magical, messy childhoods that we had,
Yeah.
right? That this generation, unfortunately, does not have. So I wrote a book about that, and it was published by Scholastic India. They invited me over for a school tour So I could go to different schools and talk to children about my book and what are the main, how do I say, the main ideas behind the book, why I wrote the book, and we played games and and we also did a creative writing exercise. So I just read an extract from my book and I said, what do you think happened next? And the ideas in the room astounded me. So they were just shy at first. At first, they gave very, how do I say, black and white solutions. Okay, if this happened, then maybe they did this. And I said, can you expand? Can you come up with something totally wacky? And one child suggested time travel. Another suggested a fantasy hero. Somebody suggested, what an energy well. I mean, the ideas just exploded in the room. And I'm like, wow, guys, so much, so many ideas. So the ideas are all there. I think when we fall into routine and we have certain goals, we kind of forget that magic and the power of imagination. And I was just telling the children that you guys did extremely well. Continue reading, continue writing, be as imaginative as you can because this will take you a long way, right? We're living in an age where technology is going to replace everything. And the only thing that will make us stand out is how creative, how different we think, how out of the box we can think. And I learned so much from the children, actually. I mean, they were supposed to learn from me, but I think I ended up learning much more from them
Right.
about how resilient they are and what are the latest trends and yeah, everything from 6'7" to whatever the K-pop demon hunters they taught me, and I'm like, oh, okay, but guess what? You don't find them in this book because this book is about something which is very different. So yeah,
I guess
so it was quite
your book would be kind of time travel for children going back to when they didn't have all these things they have
when they
today,
did
right?
yeah. So that was a bit of a that was my how do I say, it was a bit difficult for me to pitch it. And they're like, but then what do these children do for fun? And I'm like, then I didn't give them a problem to say, how do you think you're assaulted? Like a little kitten has fallen into the well. How do you think you'd rescue the kitten? And then they came up with so many ideas and we played a game. We even made some origami cats. And it was something that was just so beautiful because there was so many discussions that we had and we were celebrating the power of possibilities. And I truly believe that storytelling can change the world. There's so many possibilities. And if only you could teach empathy, kindness, and responsibility to children through stories, the world would be a better place. And I see it in the children, the spark in their eyes and, their interest and, their open-mindedness. Because I think when they're older, we tend to be a bit more fixated in our opinions, that there's only right and wrong. We never think beyond that. But with children, they're much more forgiving, much more curious, and much more open. And that's why I think stories are very powerful and will resonate with them.
See, I love that. And I love the fact that you had time with the children in the classroom. I remember when I was a child, early grade school, and we had an author come to our school and read from their book. And we're all sitting on the floor and the author's up on a chair reading their book. And I'm like looking at them like, wow, this is a real author. Like, this is a book I can get in my library, and I have this book in my house, and there is the person who wrote the book, and they're a real person. Like, you can touch them. Like, they're real. And I just thought that was really impactful. And even as an adult, I still think back to that impact of having an adult read to me from their book. It's very inspiring. And all those children, they're sitting gathered around, no matter where they go in life, they're going to remember you being in their classroom as an adult that's not their parents, who are there to show them and give them love and talk about your book. They're going to remember this just like I am right now. They're going to remember this as an adult. So just that little bit of you traveling and spending time with them, it's going to have a huge
And I think I'm going to remember it when I become a grandmother because look, I'm a new author. I'm just starting out.
Yeah.
And then after the session, they were just surrounding me with pieces of paper from their notebooks saying autograph. And I'm like, look, I'm not a celebrity. But they made me feel like a celebrity. And I was like signing and I was like really crying. It's because you struggle a lot to write, to get published and dream, right? And then you're still not there. But these children, they make you feel like you're a hero.
Right.
And that really, I remember that moment for a very, very long time.
Yeah. Well, it's well deserved because you've written great stories. People love them. Kids are connecting with it. So I'm really excited for you that you have these opportunities. Can we talk about your book a little bit more? Because we have readers that want to read these books to their children. Can you tell us a little bit more about the stories behind the books?
I have
Yeah,
two books
let's talk. Which one you want to start with?
I start with the first
Okay.
one because that's where it all started,
Okay.
and then I'll go to the second.
Sure.
So the first one is called Parenting Unplugged, the Drama Mama Diaries. As I mentioned earlier, I started with blogs. I started about all the, the funny incidents, like my daughter would say something and that would become a learning point for me. And then I'd write about it. And I collected so many of these blogs and conversations that I had a book, right? So it took a while to come out because I was a first time author, and there were a few delays, and finally the book did come out. Um, and I think the important thing, I think one more word of advice I have for authors is if you've written the first and you're waiting for it to come, don't, wallow or mope saying it's getting delayed. Write the second, write the third. You don't know which one will click. Maybe the second becomes the first, maybe the third becomes your mega blockbuster, and then people will go and read the first and the second.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So this was the first book, and obviously it's very close to my heart because it's about the relationship between me and my daughter. I'm talking about all the funny things that happened to me, like whether it's like queuing up for nursery school admissions, being a competitive parent volunteer, or teaching her stuff and googling the answers because primary school is so hard. I'm a gold medalist, by the way, but I still find it hard. And then all the science experiments, and in a way reliving my school days. Preparing for exams or just answering questions because we are an Indian family but we're settled in Singapore.
Yeah.
So there's always this pressure from the family saying that you have to teach her about mythology, and then she asks questions which I don't know the answer to, and I have to look up and give her explanations. And so it's been a learning journey for me. And then you realize that your childhood and their childhoods are very different, right? They're asking you more questions, they're more informed, and you have to give them the right answer. You can't, because otherwise they're just going to look up and read up and figure out something on their own, which could be dangerous. So it was more of, and obviously she's my only child, so I didn't have any reference point, and I talked to other moms, I'd read up stuff, I just talked to her, and we would learn together, whether it's friendships or I don't know, science experiments or just cooking in the kitchen together. And it's also about, so there's a lot of pressure on mothers, right? Because now we're like on mothers and fathers, because we have to raise children who are responsible, who are sensitive, and who are able to survive in a very volatile world, right? So how do you manage it all? Because both of us have careers, mother and father have careers, and you have so many things to do. Then how do you maintain your sanity? And you have this what I call the Wonder Woman syndrome, which is like a precursor to burnout, right? Because I want to do this, and this, and I also want to be there present for my child. And there were moments that were like major revelations to me. Like once my daughter was drawing a picture of me and her, and I looked at it, and it really, really saddened me because it's me and her playing, but I'm looking at the phone.
Oh.
That's the picture.
Wow.
And then I just realized that, I've been trying to do both, being a good employee, being a good mother, and I'm kind of messing up things. And I'm present, but I'm not present. And that was a wake-up call. And this was my 4-year-old teaching me this.
Wow.
So moments like that, which shows, so it's a combination of parenting humor, the laugh aloud moments where they say something which is very silly and very cute, and also the moments which are revelations like this, that okay, I'm at the crossroads, what do I do?
Right.
And also a celebration of motherhood, to say that listen, we're all winging it, we're all making mistakes, but we want the best for our kids, and it's okay to mess up once in a while as long as we're present and we are a happy mom. It makes a wonderful mom. That was the whole idea in this book.
Okay.
And it came out in 2025 in August.
Wow.
And surprise, the second book came out in December. They were
Wow.
starting very close, just because the first one got delayed and the second one got preponed. So I got 2 books in a year after a long wait. So
wow, that's amazing. So some of the ideas for that book, for Parenting Unplugged, come from your blog posts, like some of the stories and ideas, maybe.
Some of the stories and ideas.
Yeah, good. So that's nice to know that those blog posts and those writings, early days, was able to carry forward. At least some of the ideas carried into the book. That's great.
Yeah, because that laid the groundwork for what I wanted to say. And lots of, the Singapore-specific anecdotes as well.
Yeah.
So, all of that knitted together. And then I gave it a structure so that it, read like a book. Yeah.
Okay. So who would you say your target audience is? Are you trying to reach mothers specifically, or parents, both father and
parents,
mother?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Parents, young parents, or people who just want to read a book and laugh aloud, that's also okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I've had people who don't have kids who have read it and said, you know what, I had a lot of fun reading it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not really a preachy book. It's just something that celebrates stories of, motherhood and other stories as well. Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. So that's the first book then. And the second one we've already talked a little bit about by you going around and sharing it with these students and traveling. But can we talk a little bit more about the story then? Some of the characters in the book? Because I think that would be really good for parents to understand.
So there is a little girl called Kanmani. She is the heroine or the main character. She's 9 years old and she has this little cat because, all the best stories have cats
Of course.
in them. I'm a cat, by the way. So, yeah, she has this little cat and she has this gang of friends. There is also one character. His name is Srijit. He's differently able. He isn't able to walk properly, but he has dreams. He wants to play football. So then how do the kids help their friend play football despite his limitations or despite his challenges? That is one of the key focus points of the book as well. So this is about saying that, okay, if you have, your dreams are bigger. You can do anything you want. That's one of the central messages. Then I also have a very lovable prankster. His name is Parani, and he has 4 frogs. They're named after famous footballers. And between him and his frogs, they create a lot of ruckus and chaos. And so they're like all quirky, relatable village characters. You have that one character in the village who's a gossip, who's always listening to what's happening in the next door and who knows more about you than you yourself. So you have that village auntie. Then you have a festival. Then you have all these children running around and playing pranks on each other, going to their school and talking to their teacher. And on the way, they're learning life lessons. They're learning things about themselves and about their friends and solving problems and being there for them. And through my stories, I wanted to depict empathy. Like in one of the stories, for example, Kanmani's grandmother cannot write. She's illiterate. So Kanmani teaches her grandmother how to write. So that's like a gentle bond, the kind of very emotional bond where the granddaughter is saying that, you know what, let me teach you how to write. And together they're like learning ABCD together. So stuff like that. So it's just about emotions and empathy. Yeah, emotions and empathy.
Yeah.
And adventures in a world which is free from, the hustle and bustle of city life.
Yeah.
And a cool cat.
Yeah. And the internet and technology and some of the things we have today, they're free from that as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that would be a good story for us as parents and me as a grandparent to read to our children and then explain to our children what it was like for us compared to what it's like today. Because you're right. Like the children are like, what do you do for fun if you don't have all these things? And like their minds are like, what do you mean there was no phones or no computers and no internet? Like they have no idea, right? Like, what did you do?
Yeah.
We went outside and played. Oh, like what we like, so we can talk about our own life. And then compare it to the characters in the story as well.
And there's also respect for nature. Like there's one story where the frog croaks before the rains. So then I was just asking the children, why do you think the frog croaks before the rain? And one kid said they're practicing for Indian Idol. I go, okay, no. Adorable, right?
That's good.
It's that frogs can sense the changes in humidity and air pressure. And they're very sensitive. So there's a learning point. And yes, they can sing, but they're not practicing for Indian Idol because frogs are not.
That's such a good answer. That is like the perfect answer. I love that. Well, there you go. Now we've learned some more about frogs too. This is excellent.
Yeah, so we learned a little bit about nature and how villagers are, more in harmony with nature and stuff. That because in cities you hardly see any greenery anymore.
Right.
That is a sad reality.
Yeah.
Constructions, flats. So then, what about a village where you have greenery everywhere, and like a pond and lilies and all that stuff, right?
Right.
A different world altogether.
Yeah. So when you look back, when you read through your story with your daughter and you talk about this book, what are some of the things that you miss growing up that we don't have today for our kids?
I think grandparents, because I grew up with grandparents, right? So they were there telling me stories and they were with me at every, as my support system.
Yeah.
Right now we're in Singapore. My daughter's grandparents are in India. We do Skype calls, but it's not the same, right? That bonding. I really miss that because it was, and that community, because when you're in a flat, you're kind of isolated, but there you have neighbors who actually know everything about you. Like we know your full family history, and it's really good because whenever you have a problem, they're there before you can even call anybody. They're like, oh my god, I heard a noise. Are you all right? But in a flat, it's much more isolated, and it's like people are very busy in a big city. I miss that because I grew up in a smaller town in India, and that sense of community was much more stronger than in a busy flat. Because people are busy with their own lives and they've got their jobs, and you don't really have time to socialize that much. I also miss that. The sense of celebration, right? Because whatever is a festival, the whole family, the joint family setup, would all come together. We would celebrate festivities, whether it's a religious festival or any occasion, right? Here, whatever time permits, we do some stuff, but that full, all that jazz, that whole, or the temple procession, the prayers, all that in detail, we miss all of that. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if my daughter will ever get to know that or if she will follow it at some point, but I would like her to see and experience it in her lifetime. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's hard when you move away from your community and you start a new life in a new location. It's very hard to bring that sense of community with you, right, to your new home.
Yeah.
And those are life lessons that your daughter would really benefit from, knowing her family, her past, connecting with her grandparents. That's really, really important. So I'm glad you said that. What about like the technology side? Life was a lot different for you and I when we were growing up. We didn't have all these things. So is there anything that you miss that technology has replaced today?
Oh, so many things. Like for us, watching television was a luxury, right? So we had like fixed television viewing times. We would have a movie viewing night on a particular day.
Right.
We were never sitting by the computers because there were no computers at that time. It was only in the college labs or something. There were no reels, no Instagram. So we had lives. Like we went out, we played with our friends. We invented our own games, right? So we made up our own games. We made up our own stories. We didn't do this, just constant scrolling, this constant comparison. And I think the pressure on the current generation is really, really high.
Yeah.
Because they're always comparing themselves. They're putting filters and they're saying, okay, I look like this or I've gotten this. Somebody's flaunting something. And that's a different kind of pressure, something we were allowed to be children. Our children don't have that. They're always under the pressure of comparison and expectation, right? They're always obsessed with technology. I mean, we do introduce controls, but at some point you cannot over police it too, because educational tools are available on the internet and the schools are encouraging them, and it's better that you expose them to this rather than being more restrictive, because they'll always find ways to get around it.
Right.
In our times we didn't have any of that. It was like a luxury, right? Television or even the internet was all a luxury. And we didn't feel that we were missing anything because there was so many other things to do. We read so many books, right? Newspapers. We did the crossword puzzles, or even just have a chat with the family members and no one is like looking at their phone. So that's a different life altogether.
Right. And
technology free, but more connected.
Yeah, there we go. That's the key point. We have so much technology, yet we are so disconnected, right? You just mentioned, your daughter and her grandparents. Having to see your grandparents over the internet instead of in person. We're connected through technology, but disconnected at the same time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think, too, growing up, I think imagination you talked about, that we had imagination as children. We made up our own games and stories. We could take anything and turn it into an item to play with. Where today I find that children today don't have the same desire to chase their imagination. It's kind of given to you. Here's your imagination. You push a button and there it is. We had to create it, right? So that's one thing we can, as parents, we can develop, I think, right?
And that reminds me, a lot of children are now writing books, but I don't know if they're writing on their own or they're using AI tools, because there were children who were saying that, we're also trying AI prompts. And I'm like, don't do that. Just write on pen and paper. Don't ask AI for prompts, because it gets very addictive. And that's what I'm just scared, that we need to protect that imagination. Don't go through a prompt and an algorithm. The machine will only recycle ideas, but what is born in your brain is new, it's fresh, it's original. You need to really grow that.
Right.
But it is really sad.
Yeah. So for me, instead of AI, it would be DI, Dave Intelligence. Me. My intelligence, right? That's me. So I think that's something that we can all kind of lean into and definitely demonstrate for our children. Again, going back to the picture your daughter drew of you on the phone, right?
Yeah.
So we as parents can set down technology, play with our children, help them develop their imagination. Your books are going to help with that for sure, but just kind of help us be in that mindset of we need to help our children be creative and give them creative spaces instead of entertainment, or give them the computer or a phone and just put them off on their own to scroll. We should put those things down, and we should really help them as parents.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where your books
Absolutely.
come into play, I think. I think that's what I love about what you're writing. Let's talk a little bit before we go, as I have another question at the end, but we have people who want to connect with you. Maybe there's another book tour that's looking for you, or a school in your area there in Singapore or India that would love
I'd
to have you
do some
come,
school.
right? Where do you want to send people
Yeah.
to connect with you so that they can reach out and talk to you directly?
You mean like through email or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah. Would an email address be
Sure.
okay? We can put that in the notes.
Okay. And I'm okay. So I'm on social media. I'm very active on Instagram.
Okay,
I'm
Instagram.
happy to share.
Sure.
And author and Lalitha. Or if they want advice or anything specific, you can always email me as well.
Okay. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes for people so
Yeah,
they can connect with you.
Instagram or my email ID. Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. So, okay, last question. My show is called Living the Next Chapter. It's the name of my podcast. And it implies that our authors that come on as guests are living their next chapter. So what are you doing to live your next chapter? What can we expect from you in the future? You say you like to write, so I'm hoping there's more coming our way. Can you give us an
Oh, I
idea?
have so many ideas.
Come on.
I have so many ideas. I'd love to, make this book into a series.
Good.
Fingers crossed. I want to write more fiction for grown-ups and for children. I am working on another manuscript. So let's see. I mean, I'm also busy with promotion because I just feel that writers nowadays have to be also marketeers.
Right.
And, I learned about reels and social media and stuff, and I'm marketing my book digitally because, traveling always is not an option. Once in a while I can travel,
Yeah.
but otherwise I have to be on social media. So as of now, I'm just promoting both of my books, but I am very eager to get started on my next project as well, which is a fiction project, and hopefully, I'll come back to your show with it soon.
Please. Yeah, and promoting your show on a podcast. I'm a little biased because I have a podcast, but I think it's great for people to hear your voice, hear the story behind the books, connect with you through your voice as we listen to the podcast. I think this is a great way for you to reach an audience because, again, we're global. So here you are doing this together. I think this is a great thing about the internet is that I have the ability to talk to you and have you on my show. That's a great thing. So I'm glad for the internet for that. But I think I love the premise of your books. I love the idea behind your parenting book and for your children's series that you're going to continue on. I think there's a lot of great things for parents, and I love your heart for parents and for helping families to do life better. So thank you so much for your writing and for being on the show.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for having me here. I had an absolutely wonderful time, and your questions are very insightful. And
Thank you.
Yeah, very grateful for you having me here.
Excellent. Well, you are an amazing guest. I hope you do more and more of this because I think more people need to hear your voice and hear about your amazing book. So thank you for making time for us.
Thank you.
Excellent. Everyone, all the information, as always, in the show notes. I would love for you to go and support our authors when, not if, but when you buy these books. I would love for you to leave a great review. Let people know why you love these books so much. So when they read your comments, they'll be drawn to go purchase the books as well. And as you listen to this episode, you're thinking of someone else who would love this book. So buy 2 copies, one for you and one for them, and leave reviews wherever you do that. So again, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm glad to have you here. Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. Glad to have you here. I just want to let you know that you can always find out what we're doing live in the moment by going to our YouTube channel. Head over to livingthenextchapter.com. There'll be a link right there. Head over to our YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things that all the YouTubers love to say. And in our YouTube channel, a couple things. You're going to get advanced listens. You're going to get the episodes that we're working on in real time. So we record and post daily on our YouTube channel. I'd love for you to give us a follow over there. As well, we're making playlists. We have over 500 episodes. So finding the right episode for you. We're trying to group things into playlists. So if you like children's books, if you like business, you like historical fiction, we're grouping our authors together to make it a little easier for you to find your favorite next author. So head over to livingthenextchapter.com. And again, I'd love to hear from you. Hearing from the listeners of the show is great. And I just want to say thank you for being a part of the podcast family. And I look forward to having you back for the next episode. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time and your listen. Take care.